we're going to get started here. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. I want to thank the Dorrs and the Dorr Family Farm for hosting us. What a place, huh? What a place. It's always nice to see these farms come back to life. So before I get started, before I start the readings, before I even start to tell you my story and prepare you guys for everything that you should be expecting, I have to ask you to do something for me. I want to make sure that everybody can hear me. I will speak up and I'll broadcast. Everybody can hear me okay? Yes. All in the back? Bad kids in the back row? All right. So I need you to do this for me, please. I need you to walk into this afternoon's experience with an open mind and a sense of humor. Okay? So the open mind is really important because a lot of folks are coming to an event like this. Pretty much everybody comes to these sorts of things with expectations. And I really need to ask you to drop your expectations as much as you can, as much as possible. And here's why. I'm not like anybody that does this. I'm very different. And if you've even seen somebody like me in person, if you've seen somebody like me in a group, or God forbid on TV, please drop all those expectations. That's what I'm going to ask you to do. Especially expectations around who you might want to hear from, your expectations around the spirit world, the afterlife, death, dying, all of that stuff. I'm going to ask you to drop that. But most importantly, please have a sense of humor for me, because we're going to have fun today, and that's really important for these events that I host. If you can do that, I'm going to make you a promise. Stay with me for the next couple hours, and I'm going to bring you, every single person in this barn, I'm going to bring peace, going to bring power and strength, I'm going to bring courage, and I'm going to bring self-respect. So I want to ask everybody here, does everybody here want peace?
Yes.
All right. So you guys want to be the strongest version of yourself or your family, your community?
Yes.
Strength is a good thing. Power is a good thing. Courage to face the things that you fear, right? Okay. And ultimately, self-respect. That's huge. Self-respect is huge. So stay with me. I make this promise that I'm going to give every single person this at the end. Those four things, I'm going to bundle them up, and I'm going to deliver to everybody here what I call the secret to life. Secret to life. Okay. Now, with that being said, I need to just ask you again to drop your expectations, because I'm going to start my story and tell you where I'm from, how I found this path. So what makes me different than pretty much everybody who does this work professionally, I will not ever say to people that I was talking to spirits as a child. That's a big distinction. A lot of people who do this professionally will sort of wear like a badge of honor that they were talking to spirits, hearing spirits since they were a child. And that, is absolutely their story, not mine. I was born in 1979 in Lancaster, New Hampshire, 1979. My mom was from Lyman, New Hampshire, a couple towns over. My dad grew up in Dalton. If you ever drive by Dalton and see the Simonds Road, that's my ancestors' road. So I'm right from this neck of the woods. When I was born, when I grew up, my mom was a waitress, my dad was a construction worker. They were working class, and they were both the youngest kids of two farming families. Very lower class, very lower class. Now, I bring that up because I didn't grow up in church. I didn't have any church. My parents didn't have any church, so I didn't have any of that hang up. I didn't have any of that sort of programming or conditioning from that stuff. When I was very young, I did know two things about myself. When I was about 4 or 5, I figured out that I was gay. I just knew it, and I also knew that I couldn't share that with anybody. My parents were a couple of hillbillies. It was the 80s. Couldn't have that. Nobody was safe back then, and I had to keep that within myself. I knew as soon as I knew that about myself, I had to keep it within. The other thing that I found out about myself is that I loved the spooky stuff. Give me the vampires, the werewolves, the ghosts, the zombies, all the spooky stuff, and you guys can absolutely blame Oscar the Grouch for that. Okay? 'Cause I was a big guy about Jim Henson, the Muppets, Sesame Street, couldn't get enough of that stuff either. I grew up, and I was the kid that was like 7 or 8 years old that was digging through those 80s paperbacks. I was like 7, 8, just diving right into Stephen King novels. I couldn't get enough of it, and my parents didn't care because they were working, and a kid that has his nose stuck in a book is not a kid who's beating up on his little sister. So my parents didn't care. There was peace in the house. Growing up, I graduated high school over in St. Johnsbury. In 1997, when I was about 5 or 6, my parents moved over to Gilman for the low property taxes. They bought a house over there, low property taxes in Vermont, kind of the best life over there. You scoot over to New Hampshire, you have no, sales tax over here. Right. So they lived in Gilman, and they're still there on the River Road to this day. I graduated 1997, like I said. In 2003, I had a child with a high school sweetheart, still in the closet. When he was 3 years old in 2006, his mother and I separated, and I came out of the closet with a bang. Had a couple of rough years with some very rough relationships. And then in 2008, I found myself working in Lancaster again at US Cellular. I was selling cell phones. I just had a bunch of different jobs, heading out of college, just was doing one thing after another. And then on Saturday in September, I went down to the farmer's market, right down there in the center, and I met that wonderful man that would have checked you in here. He's wonderful, isn't he? Yeah, I fell in love with him as soon as I saw him. Absolutely. It was a literal fairy tale, okay? So, as soon as we hung out, we were attached at the hip. But when we got together, he and I were very different in a lot of ways. Our childhoods were different, our interests were different. When I met him, he was a very spiritual, and I was not. He had a very traumatically religious childhood. To put it into perspective for you guys, his parents were Bible thumpers. My parents were bikers. Complete difference. So we come together, fall in love, and kids from different sides of the track. Okay? Now, when I got with him, he was all into Reiki and shamanism and herbalism and tarot cards and all the stuff that I was like, that's just some woo. Okay? I was just like, that's woo-woo, right? And when we were getting together like that and he was expressing those interests in that, I was very much the guy that was like, babe, you do you, have fun playing Dungeons and Dragons, please don't hurt yourself, please don't hurt other people, right? But to be a little serious for a moment, I was keeping an ear to the ground for mental illness. I was. It's interesting in that way because when you have people in your life that are talking about spirit stuff and energies and things that they can't see, taste, touch, feel, you gotta wonder if they might be a little cuckoo. You gotta wonder, right? So I just kept my ear to the ground for that. And he didn't really give me any signs that he was mentally ill. And he was just doing his thing and I was doing my thing. Now, in 2010, we got married. Yesterday was our 13th anniversary. Yay! 13th anniversary, we've been together 15 years. Our 13th anniversary falls on Friday the 13th, which was perfect. Really perfect. It was perfect. So, 2010, we got married. In 2013, I got an idea to start a business. Now, this business was a marketing business. I was selling radio ads. I had had an awful experience doing that, but I was working with businesses about like, hey, what are you doing with your business? What are you doing on your website? What are you doing with this and with that? And I noticed that nobody was selling or doing anything on social media. So I just got this idea. I probably received this idea with all my experience, but I went around and I had, at my most, 75 to 80 clients in a 25-mile radius around Littleton and St. Johnsbury. Wow. Yeah, so I give you that context because I was that guy. I had a lot of people that I was doing business with. I was just the guy that was doing Facebook and Instagram, and then I was doing videos, and then I was doing websites, and I was doing all sorts of things, and I was a very busy guy. In 2016, I like to say that the Twilight Zone Express pulled in. Okay? It was in 2016 when Isaac got me a DNA test for Christmas. He had remembered me going at my parents' house. I saw a commercial. I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool, right? He remembered that. He got me a DNA test for Christmas. Now, I only had one grandparent that I knew. My grandmother, Edith, she was from Lyman. That was my mom's mom. I shouldn't even be here. Like, my dad shouldn't even be here. My dad was born in 1958 to a woman who was 47 years old.
Wow.
That's pretty commendable even today, a 47-year-old woman having a newborn. His father was 52. He passed away when I was really young. I didn't even get to know my grandfather or my grandmother. My other grandfather passed away when I was super young as well, didn't get a chance to know him. I was under the assumption, because of what my grandmother would tell me, she had family from Canada, I was under the assumption that I was French. And my grandmother, this old farming woman who loved her father, who loved her heritage, was very proud of her heritage, she referred to herself as a stinking Frenchman. The DNA test, though, determined that was a lie. Or misconstrued information. She had family from Canada, it's easy to make that assumption. Now, my DNA test showed me that I'm about 5% French, but I'm mostly Northern European, Scottish, Irish, British, Scandinavian, Norwegian. I know it's a stretch of the imagination, but I'm mostly Viking. Okay? Mostly Viking. So that perplexed me so much that I had to sign up for Ancestry.com. You guys all know Ancestry.com, right? Build family trees, do all of that stuff. That's when this stuff started to happen to me, as soon as I started touching base with my ancestors and building family trees. So I really recommend everybody do that. Go on to Ancestry.com, you gotta know your parents' birth dates, that sort of things. You can find out all sorts of information. That experience really moved me, but it was during that experience that I started to have intrusive sensations and impressions. I would be working with clients. I would be having dinners and lunches with people that I did not know, and all of a sudden I'd be feeling things, hearing things, tasting things, smelling things, knowing things that were not mine and that were not ever something that happened to me. That scared me. So again, I'm not going to stand up here and say, oh yeah, I'm God's gift to psychics. I'm not going to give you guys that shit. Oh, I'm my grandmother's grandson too. I use her French. You got to know this. This is an adult experience, okay? So I'm not going to feed you guys that stuff because I was terrified. I was terrified for a couple of reasons, because this stuff was coming from outside of me. It was happening to me. But I was also terrified that it could be mental illness. That's something that we got to take into consideration. The mental illness part, I tell you what, when you start to have intrusive thoughts, intrusive things, stuff that comes to you out of nowhere for no reason, you gotta wonder what's going on. So when this stuff happened to me, what I was doing at that time is I was pulling back from it. Like, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I had had 29 years in the closet, so I had plenty of practice at repressing those core parts of myself. So that's what I did. Anytime I'd feel something, taste something, anything like that, I would squash it down, repress it. But just like the homosexuality, it didn't stop and it didn't go away. It didn't. And it kept happening to me, and it kept happening to me. Even though I was repressing it, I kept building my family trees. Now, here's a funny thing. You guys really got to dig into your family trees because it will change you and what you think of yourself. So, my dad, his father was a World War II vet, and that's pretty commendable, right? Absolutely. But what I didn't know about my ancestry, and my dad didn't even know this because he lost his father when he was 8 years old, and his father was 60. What I didn't know is that my great-grandfather went to World War I, and then when World War II came around, he went to World War II. Wow. Yeah. That was amazing. Now, that's commendable. Truly, truly commendable. What was really touching, though, was a woman that I never got to meet named Susie Hilliard. Susie Hilliard was my dad's mother, my great-grandmother. And I want you to imagine Susie. Susie watched her husband go off to one world war, come back, watched her son and her husband go off to another world war and come back. She had to survive that. She had to live through that, and she had to keep the farm going. This woman is probably this big in her pictures, and I'm sure she had the shotgun shooting the bears out of the chicken coop, because nobody else was around to do it. Knowing that, feeling that, and learning that changed me, and what it made me realize is that everything that I'm made out of, my crazy height to this weird Twilight Zone thing that I got in my head, to all of it, comes from my ancestors. Every part of us comes from our ancestors, and everyone that's in here, everything that we have in common is that our ancestors struggled to make sure that we could be here today. Guaranteed, you have grandparents, probably parents. My parents struggled. Probably great-grandparents. All of your ancestors struggled with no pharmacies, no grocery stores, no lights, no heat, no air, nothing like that. And they made it. That strength lives in you. So what I want you to do is when you go home and you look at that roll of paper towels on your counter, I want you to imagine your great-grandmothers and how much they would have appreciated a roll of paper towels. Seriously, our worst days are their best dreams. We have it so good. understanding that strength that was in me, what that caused me to do is that caused me to do what my ancestors did and what I wasn't doing. I decided to run at the scary thing instead of running away from it. Now, I had a couple of reasons to run at it. It could be mental illness, and if it was mental illness, I had to figure it out to make sure that it wasn't affecting my family, affecting my life. That was my responsibility as a husband and a father. Okay. But I needed to figure it out because it wouldn't stop. So this is what I did. Because science got me into it with the DNA test, I decided to use the scientific method and run a science experiment to figure it out. And this is exactly what I did. Halloween of 2017, I ran a science experiment. If you guys remember from school, you got a hypothesis, a suspicion, you run an experiment, you gather data, you cross-reference the data to the hypothesis, come up with a conclusion. So what I had Isaac do is on Halloween of 2017, Isaac got me 9 people that I did not know, and I was going to sit in front of them for 15 minutes each. And I love that you're filming me, but we got cameras in the back. You film me as much as you want. This is going to be on YouTube, okay? So if any of you are not where you're supposed to be, or where you're supposed to be, you might want to get out of here, okay? Yeah. So with that being said, I had to figure it out, so I was going to run the science experiment. Had these people sit in front of me, and this is what I was doing. I just wanted to bounce off what I was receiving, what I was feeling, because I wanted to figure out, well, it's something coming from external to me, or it's something that I gotta go get checked out somewhere. That was very important to me. The first woman that sat in front of me, the first question that I asked her if she was a recovering Christian. She was an ex-minister. So right there, right? She had a problem with God and church and religion, and she was going through all this stuff, and I just seemed to know it. Now, since Halloween of 2017 to today, I have found, I've done these things hundreds of times, I've sat with people one-on-one thousands of times, and the common denominator, every time I sit with somebody, it's always information that I'm receiving that is in their best interest. It's in their best interest. So I'm not going to tell people when they're going to die, I'm not going to tell people when they're going to meet a tall, dark, handsome stranger. Okay, I'm not going to tell anybody that stuff. What I want you guys to consider, because I know a lot of you are going to relate to this, when I sit with Spirit, when I work with Spirit, I want you guys to think of me as the bullshit hunter. Okay? This is what they do. Your spirits are going to want to give you peace in your heart, in your mind, in your body, in your life, all of that. Every piece of information that I receive from somebody in Spirit is in the best interest of the person that I'm sitting with, over and over and over and over again. Whether people listen to it, that's another choice, right? But that's what I would hope that you do. Now, the things that I've learned outside of that, I got to lay the foundation for some truths that I want everybody here to know, because as much as we all have in common with our ancestors, we also have these other things in common. Every single one of us is alive right now. Every single one of us is going to die. That's just something that happens. Now let me explain to you what the human condition is as far as I can tell. I'm going to keep it real simple. I want you to think about a horse and a rider. Okay? You have this body that's a mammal, that's an animal. I like to call them your holy vessel. You have this body. You have an eternal self, your spirit, your soul, and just like a horse and a rider, they are married. And they come together. Now your body, just like a horse, is going to have needs and boundaries and wants and all of that. Your spirit has other needs, boundaries, and all of that. When we die, well, the rider gets off the horse. That's what goes on. That's it. It's the best analogy that I can come up with. Now, when we get off that horse, right, there is an afterlife. There is a heaven, there's a paradise, there's all of that, yes. But here's what I've discovered. It's not some far-off distant dimension, it's not some far-off distant planet. In the same way that our physical and spiritual selves are married, so isn't the physical world and the spiritual world. When we pass away, we're right here. Now, the best way that I can explain it, and I want everybody to kind of hold on to this for me, is that I want you to think about a one-way mirror that you would see in a cop show. Okay, you guys all seen that, right? Cop shows, police dramas, all of that. We're alive, trapped in this body, riding this body, in our 5 senses. So we're on the side of the suspects, pretty oblivious to what's going on the other side. They are on the side of the police. They see us, they feel us, they know what's going on in our lives, our hearts, our minds, all of that. And here's the other thing that I want everybody to take away from today. They are your source of intuition. You guys know the word intuition, right? Okay, a lot of you would consider yourselves intuitive people. You've got a good gut instinct about people, you know, all of that. If anybody in this room refers to themselves as intuitive, the reason they call themselves as intuitive, because they didn't listen to it. So they ran their own experiment, right? So you guys got to think back to the times where you got past a situation or past a person, dealing with a person or a situation, and you got to the other side of it, and you're like, God damn it, I knew it. You guys all can relate to that, right? All right, so you get past that situation, that person, and you're like, shit, I knew that. I should have listened to myself. Now, when you say that to yourself, I should have listened to myself, what you need to know is you should have listened to your spirits. Because this is how I figured out it happens. Everybody's got this intuition, but this is what happens. Our spirits are with us all the time. They are our umbrellas. I don't even like the term spirit guides. You won't hear that come out of my mouth once because too many people talk about their spirit guides and they're really just giving voice to their anxiety. Really. I had a mother and a daughter come into our store in Littleton, and the mother's all like, I know my daughter, my spirit guides are telling me my daughter shouldn't go to Arizona. And I'm like, no, woman, that is your anxiety. So I'm really, really leery about the metaphysical stuff and how it intersects with our emotional and mental health. Now, ran the experiment and found this stuff out, that the language of spirit is emotion. And this is how every human works. Every human has an emotional, intuitive side. You're going to feel things, you're going to experience things, you're going to feel them, and then what's going to happen is your rational, intellectual mind that has to, get you through this world is going to kick in about a half a second to a second and translate what you're receiving in your own voice. This stuff will be stronger for you when you zone out, when you're doing dishes, when you're in the shower, when you're driving. You guys know what highway hypnotism is? Yeah. When you're going through the drive, driving down the highway and you're smelling something or you're feeling something or you're just zoning out. When your rational mind calms down, that's when this stuff comes through. Okay. I'm going to show you this because what happens is I will sit with people and I will say, your grandmother's like, you got to go to the ocean, you got to go to live music, you got to ride a horse, you got to do something like that. And almost every single time somebody would be like, wow, I was just thinking about that. And I'm like, no, you're receiving it, but because nobody realizes how this works for us all, they don't understand that they're getting messages from spirit. All right, now the difference between a group reading like this and a one-on-one reading. This is where, again, I'm going to ask you to check your expectations. Because a lot of these medium galleries can be really heavy and really sad and really full of trauma and pain and all that. And I don't run like that. The spirits that help me don't run like that. The one-on-one sessions that I do can be heavy. They can really dive deep into your heart, your mind, and your past and all of that to try to get you to have this best future. That's not going to happen here unless I need to save somebody's life. Okay, and that's also happened. So today, I don't even know where I'm going. I don't even know who I'm going to get pulled to. When I kick this off, I'm just going to go here to here to here to here. I might get my wires crossed because we got a lot of people. Imagine you guys having 5 or 6 ancestors with you at all times. But we're not going to dive into massive amounts of trauma. We're not going to talk about murder and suicides and all sorts of awful stuff. I'm a big believer in what I call vitamin joy. We need vitamin joy to get through the pain and trauma and turmoil of this world. So we're going to keep it as joyful as possible. Now the way this works is I'm going to get pulled to somebody and I'm going to ask you questions and I'm going to ask you to help me translate what I'm receiving. Okay? Because they're going to use symbols and feelings. And the thing about a group reading is I'm not going to be able to read everybody here, but what happens is the people that I get pulled to, they're going to have a reading, they're going to experience something that pretty much everybody in this room can relate to. Pretty much everybody in this room can relate to. That's important. So everybody in this room that gets read is like a page in a book. I want you guys to think of yourselves as a hive of bees. And I'm reading individual bees, but I'm also reading for the entire hive. That's super important. Now everybody that gets read, gets a 4-leaf clover charm as that. Anybody that gets a one-on-one reading gets a 4-leaf clover charm from me. I pass them out. I found 5 out here. That brings me up to like 761 this year. So, yeah, I'm bonkers. It's weird and crazy. So, with that being said, if I have to remind anybody of anything, I'm going to interject it on the way, but I'm ready to get started. All right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sip of tea, and I'm going to ask everybody to sit back, close your eyes, and we're going to take 3 deep breaths together. So we're going to do a disservice to these people on this side of the room here because I'm going over on this side of the room. I didn't know how this setup was going to work. So I'm going to be talking to somebody over here, okay? And then I'm just going to ask that person to speak up as we get going, okay? So I need the man with the beard to give me his name. Hello.
Hi. Brandon.
Hey? What's that?
Brandon.
Brandon. Okay. So Brandon, did you come with somebody today?
I did.
Okay. Could I get your name as well?
Teresa.
Teresa. Okay. So Teresa, I'm gonna talk about Brandon a lot,
Okay.
but a lot of people in this place, a lot of people in this world have what I call imposter syndrome. So I'm about to like heap some compliments on him, and he might not be able to understand it or see it.
Yeah.
So I love it when somebody brings somebody with them because I think you're going to be able to relate to this.
Yeah.
So Brandon, I want to ask you a question. Okay. And I think Teresa, you're going to have to validate this for me. What I'm getting for you is you work tirelessly.
Yes.
You work tirelessly, just a very hard worker. And it's almost like, here's a funny thing for me. I won't say that it's your highest priority, but work is your it's right up there with your top 3. Okay. Now, this is very much coming from the men that you would have come from. So like dads, grandfathers, all of that, you would have been very much almost trained, drilled into you. They go to work, take care of, work, take care of, work, take care of. I want you to check that tirelessly stuff, that working tirelessly, because it's funny. I don't know if you know James out here. Okay, so James, this is interesting. First time that I've met him, right? But I really like how, he's kind of the boss of his little kingdom here. He's got his stuff going on, he's got a little farm going on, he's kind of doing the best that he can. So it feels like, you got your job, and then you come home and you can't sit still and you're doing the thing and you just have to produce and work and produce and work. I want you to be careful of that, okay? Now, the reason that you gotta be careful of that is because you wouldn't beat a horse like that. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't beat you wouldn't beat a horse. You give the horse rest, you give the horse play, you give all of that. And I need you to kind of look at this is a strange example. I don't know if you got a farm or come from farmers, but man, I'm telling you what, you gotta treat your body like livestock. Okay? I know it's a funny example, but it's important for you to consider because I think a lot of us are trained to work hard. And then we don't get the best version of ourselves. We get tired, cranky, hungry, all of that, but we gotta work and take care of and work. And it's that sort of program or cultural conditioning. Now I do wanna commend you because it feels, the best words that I got for you, it feels like you got a shady past. And I don't wanna say that like you're a criminal or anything like that, but there was a time in your past where, well, I'm just going to call it how I'm hearing it. There was a time in your past where you would have seen yourself as selfish, like self-centered, like just about you, maybe about the drink, maybe about something like that. But what's interesting is that you are working so tirelessly now because you're feeling like you've got to make up for how selfish you were in your past. Teresa, you understand this?
Yes.
Okay. Now the reason that I bring this up, because one of the best expressions my dad ever gave me for advice had to do with driving. And you got to imagine my dad's almost as big as me, but he's a mountain man. He's got like hair out to here and a beard out to here, right? He looks like Odin, I swear to God. Ladies, interestingly enough, shaved, he looks just like Sean Connery. Yeah. You wouldn't believe how many women ask my dad is single. It's crazy. Crazy. So, Brandon, the advice that he gave me had to do with driving. When you're driving, you look out the windshield, not the rear view. Okay? So, at your core, you're a man of integrity. You always do the right thing. You're always there for the people in your family and your community. But there's something about you driving down the road of life, looking out your rear view, always looking at this past, always going, man, I wish I hadn't, I wish I had done something different, I wish I hadn't have been so. This is fascinating, because you're feeling like you were selfish. The words that I'm getting are you weren't selfish, you were just distracted in your own ship. You were just kind of, you didn't know how to get out of that. You didn't know how to take care of anybody else. And this is the difference between being a man-child and a man. You know what I mean? That's the difference. So there's going to be this passage, this rite of passage that you went through to become a man, to serve your family, to serve your community. And this is really interesting because everything that I've got about you, and Teresa, I need you to validate this for me. This guy's the first guy to stop an old woman, like stop on the side of the road with a person who's got a flat tire. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so I just need you to speak up for me because these people can't hear you guys. Okay, now, remember how I was talking about Vitamin Joy, Brandon?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you something that's interesting. I posted on my Facebook this morning an old Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny cartoon, right? And I freaking love Saturday morning cartoons. I was that kid. So you're a person, you've got to lean into that idea of Vitamin Joy. And can I ask you, did you like Saturday morning cartoons?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so, wow, was it the Justice League? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So like the superheroes and the
Yeah.
flashy bright
Yeah.
stuff, okay. So that, I was just a kid that had Channel 8. I had like ABC, Channel 8, it was coming out from Washington, right? So I had the ABC cartoons, I don't know if you had something different, but it's very important for you to chill out and get some cartoon time, right? And as adults, you might not feel like this is something that is proper or responsible, but I really need you to lean into that. Now, Teresa, I want you to validate this for me as well. What I'm getting is Brandon's a big cuddly teddy bear and he loves his animals. So you love
Yes.
animals?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, so this is interesting because there are some people that have some physical qualities that are more tuned to animals. It just feels like, you know, here's a funny thing, my friend. So you've ever heard of Reiki? I kind of mentioned it in the beginning, right? So Reiki is a Japanese form of energy healing. Pretty much everybody can do it, and it's just a way to learn it. But everybody's kind of got energy, and they can do that. But there's something about animals being very calm around you. Are they attracted to you?
Yep.
Okay. So there's something very much about you having this way with animals. And now what I'm receiving for you is that you have this way with little kids. You have a way with little kids as well? Okay. You got a Brandon Jr.?
No.
Okay. Any nephews or anything like that?
I'm
Yes.
really good with kids.
You are? Well, there's something about the animals and the kids, you know, that
Yeah.
kind of go together. There's a gentleness and they're going to feel comfortable. So I'm not sure if you had a chance to express that, but super important for you to just lean into it. Now, okay. So here's the funny thing, because I do get medical stuff from time to time. I'm going to give you this piece of advice. And remember, I'm not a medical practitioner. I don't advise people medically. But it's funny because it feels like you need to clean your ears out with hydrogen peroxide. Okay, you ever done that? You have? Okay. Do you have, yeah, it's something that people can do, right? Can I ask you, do you have ear infections, ear problems, anything like that? Okay, so you might want to lean into that a little bit just because your ears. You know what I mean? Just something about your ears. Now, Teresa, okay, so Brandon, I'm going to let you know that the men, you've got their last name. Okay, your father, his father, all of that. You feel, I'm telling you, you've got a big, strong connection to the men who have your last name, and they want to indicate to you that they're very proud of you. And the big difference is you've gone, and Teresa, this is important to acknowledge because I think you're your own worst enemy and kicking yourself in the pants all the time, Brandon. You've gone from selfish to selfless. You've gone from selfish to selfless, and they really want to illustrate that. And the way that you should see it is not really selfish to selfless. That's the best way to like explain it for everybody. But for you, it's like you're kind of trapped with your blinders, and then they came off, and they're like, oh, there's other people, you know, that sort of thing. So you came outside of your own world, and you decided to help other people. Just be there for people. You actually understood that your behavior was having an impact on others. Super important. And they want to commend you for that. Truly. You're hearing it as selfish. You're not selfish anymore. You weren't selfish. You were just trapped in your own ship. Okay? Now, Teresa, I would love to come over and have a cup of tea at your house because what I feel is like you just keep this wonderful home. That's very, like, it's funny because it almost feels like there's a round table in your kitchen with like a tablecloth. I just want to like get right up to it. I want to have like a cup of tea, and I'm going to feel very comfortable with you, Teresa, in the way of pouring my heart out to you. Okay. Now, she keeps a nice home, Brandon? Yeah, like a nice home. This feels very comfy, very warm, very welcoming. Now, I believe, and remember, I can get my wires crossed, and it's the different sides of the family. I believe this comes from your mama's mama, because she'd want to like bring people in, set them down, have some like nice tea, have some like comfort, all of that. I really want you to know, and was she like that?
I didn't meet her. I was 2 when my grandmother died.
Gotcha. Would you have known her to be that way?
From what I know of, from family history,
Warm and
she always bathed
loving.
and had people over. We always had a lot of people over.
Yes,
all growing up.
Yes, and that's important because you really do her proud, okay? In the way that, this is funny, because what she's indicating to me is you're just a no bullshit person. You got bullshit in my house, you get the hell out. No bullshit in my life, I don't want bullshit in my life, I don't want drama, I don't want anything like that. Get out. So I love that because this is what I do. I play whack-a-mole with all my bullshit. You know whack-a-mole, right? Anything that comes into my life, people that come into my life that want to cause drama, pain, turmoil, get out, right? Get out. I have no time for you. I'm not going to like negotiate with you. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to do anything. Get out of my life, okay? So there's this level where you're balancing this warm, nurturing aspect of yourself, but what you're doing is you're also maximizing your peace by keeping everybody, you're just really good at boundaries, okay? Really good at boundaries. Now I want to also ask you, this is important, were you a daddy's girl?
I don't feel like I was.
Okay.
I mean, he considered me to be, but I didn't have a close relationship with my father.
Okay, so the reason that I gotta ask, is he in spirit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does this man suffer greatly throughout the course of his life?
He's alive and he's still, yes, he's suffered a lot.
Okay, so he's still alive?
Yep.
All right, so I want to talk to you about a man in spirit that would have loved you greatly, would have also suffered, who's just very proud of you and is here with you. Now here's a question for you, because again, this is my experience. How old's your dad?
76.
76. Now this is a tough question to ask. Did he have a smidge of dementia or Alzheimer's?
Yes.
Okay. Now here's a fascinating thing that happens to me, and I don't guarantee this to anybody. I will communicate in spirit to a person who has dementia and Alzheimer's. And what that is to me is that slow kind of separation of that horse and rider. It's just, I'll sit with somebody and I'll be like, well, I've got this person here and they're saying this, and they're like, well, they're alive. And I'm like, well, do they have a thing like that? And they oftentimes do. So there is this kind of separation from that. Now what I want you to know is that you're focused on peace, right? You're just very focused on peace, no drama, no bullshit.
Right.
You've got to understand how important that is, because when you're focused on peace, you want your spirits to rest in peace, right? You want your loved ones to be at peace.
Yes.
If you want your loved ones in spirit to rest in peace, you've got to know peace. So the way my grandmother suffered in life, right? I am not going to suffer in this world, because I know my suffering is her suffering, and I'm going to do everything to reduce my suffering so I reduce hers.
Yes.
That's just something that I've learned, and I want to pass that on to you, because it feels like the way that you've been, I think, again, you guys are talking to yourself in the wrong way. Like Brandon has this thing about being selfish. You have this thing about being cold-hearted. You're not cold-hearted. You're focused on your peace. So when you say, hey, get out, I don't want anything to do with you. I'm drawing a hard line. Get out. Stop this shit. I don't want anything to do with that. You're going to feel like, oh, but shouldn't I give him another chance? Or shouldn't I, all of that? No. You're going to know the best way to get through your world. So please understand that, okay? Now, when you were a kid, and what I'm seeing now is a swing, all right? Do you have a swing as a kid?
I always had a tire swing.
All right. What I need you to do, you got property at home?
Not anymore, no.
Okay, so you gotta go swinging,
Okay.
all right? So when Brandon's watching his cartoons, you gotta go to the playground and go swinging, okay? Just like kicking your feet up and pumping and all of that, because we need that childlike joy.
Yeah.
We really do. We need that childlike joy. Okay, so are you a North Country gal?
Yes.
All right. did you have people that sugared? Did maple syrup?
Maybe my grandfather years ago.
Okay, because I'm tasting and smelling like maple syrup, so that's one of the things that they're going to give to me to show you who's here with you, okay? The other thing that I have for you, and this is important, your neck and shoulder things, okay? So you got to go get a massage or something like that because you got neck and shoulder stuff, you know that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I have terrible neck and shoulder.
It's important because when you're experiencing physical pain, your spirits know it, and they want you to do everything to reduce it. Now, I want you to hear about something that I use and I love, and this is something that you should dig into. I ordered it for like 40 bucks on Amazon. Have you ever heard of a Shakti mat?
No.
So it's like a mat that's about this big. It looks like a little yoga mat. It's wild. Like on the side you lay on, it has these like plastic little discs that are points, right? Oh my gosh, you lay on it, it's like a bed of nails. It's like the Hindu bed of nails. You lay on it. This one's over here. You got one?
It's in my car.
It's good, I'm telling you. So like whenever I have neck, shoulder stuff, anything like that, recently had a lower back thing, what it does is like you lay on it and it's gonna like hurt you for a couple minutes, but after that, I'm telling you what, it forces blood flow into the muscles and it helps. And I really think that like a neck, shoulder Shakti mat is just gonna be amazing for you.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you both for coming, and what I need you to do is remember that you get 4-leaf clovers. Don't head out of here. Usually I have somebody walking around with me, do you know what I mean? Helping
Yeah.
me. But like, I need you to get them from me before you go. Okay? Thank you both for coming here. I'm gonna go to the woman in the red vest. Okay. Hello. What's your name?
Herbie Joe.
Herbie Joe. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay. So, Herbie Joe. Whew. So here's the funny thing, okay? Remember, nothing that I bring forward is from a place of judgment, all right? But it feels like you're an investigative reporter, okay? And the reason that I say that is I'm getting like nobody should ever cross you. Like you keep receipts, like you're taking screenshots, you're running everything. Okay? So I love this because there's this way of like, you know what I'm talking about? People like being bullshit hunters, right? You feel like a bullshit hunter supreme, okay? And the way that what that means to me is that if you have people in your life, right? People that you love and you care for, your community, your job, you're gonna really be focused on their peace, okay? And then it's like, when I say an investigative reporter, what I'm getting is like, problem solver. Like you get a problem, I'm gonna like dig right in and we're gonna get to the root of it and we're gonna figure it out. Do you know that to be you? Does anybody here know you?
I know Herbie Joe.
You know Herbie Joe?
I've
Okay.
known her since she was a kid.
Okay. So you would be very lucky to be on that side of her because, yeah, like I would want her on my side
She's
because,
always a good woman.
yeah, like very much. So, okay. Big mama energy at your workplace. I love this. Like you're large and in charge in your workplace. What I'm seeing, and I want you to help me out with this too. So you know, like when you walk into like reception and you got like a circular desk or something, and there's like a bank of things and yada yada yada, and that person's working there. Do you work at anything like that?
Oh,
Yeah.
I have, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I work at desk.
Well, I know a lot of people work at a desk, but is it like so interesting that you're over here? You know Herbie Joe. You know, okay. So somebody around the corner that knows you. She's peeking around.
Hi, Herbie.
Okay, so when I say big mama energy, it's like you're taking your job very seriously. You're giving off like boss, like manager vibes in that way of like, okay, this goes here, you go here, this goes here, you go here. You're a coordinator, all right. Yeah.
Make sure people follow through on their end. You can set things up and then a lot of times they don't follow through with it, so I'm here to make sure they do. So yes.
So I know that nobody is truly like irreplaceable in a workplace, but I want to make sure that you're getting what you're valued at because it feels like if you took off the people, the man up charge, what have you, the whole thing would fall apart. So I want to make sure that you know your value, and I want to make sure that you know like that you might need another $5 an hour or something like that to truly go with that energy. But there's that like, I love that coordinating, right? You're always like checking in on stuff. Now, and this is going to be hard for you because you take a lot of things very seriously, and you take the people that you're coordinating with very seriously. It's like, I'm not sure if you're very good at those boundaries of like work, family, work, family, everybody that you're working with and they work for you or what have you, or working in conjunction with you. It's very much like, I'm gonna own you like my daughter. I'm gonna take care of you, I'm gonna make sure everything's good. And then that might be hard on you emotionally. Okay. Now, I don't know how old you are, okay, but I wanna ask you, because I'm pretty sure this is you. In the world of spirit, there is a sacred title, the Keeper of Memories. Okay? So do you have all the old pictures, all the old stuff? Do you have that yet? You do, okay. Usually that's somebody that's like a generation above us that has all of that, but you have all the old pictures, you have all the other stuff. So yeah, say yes for me so everybody can hear that.
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do, okay. You're very good at, again, at organizing, so I want to pass this along to you. We got a lot of technology at our disposal. These phones that we use, there's an app on it called PhotoMyne, PhotoMyne. And what you do is you can lay out all the pictures on the table. You can take a single picture of the table. And what it will do is it will crop, it does it all by itself. It'll like prompt it a little bit, but it will crop out every single picture, high def it, and save each one as a digital file. So people that have, because it feels like the shoe boxes, it feels like the boxes, the totes, all of this stuff where it all needs to be like organized and all of that. Okay, so there's a man in your family, feels like on your dad's side, it feels like you really got to get with him about who these people were in your pictures, okay? So do you have any older men left in this world? Uncles, fathers, grandfathers, anybody like that? What's that? Your brother. Is he significantly older than you? Would he know who people are outside of you? Would he know who more people are than you?
Probably, yes.
Okay, because it's very important to do that.
Actually, there is somebody in his family too that actually wants to go through those pictures.
A man.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to do that. You need to do that. Now.
You didn't say you wanted to go through them, you said you wanted some.
Okay. So if there's an older man who's going to know like who Aunt Jane was or who this person was, you're going to want to work with them so you can get names, because once we lose our like loved ones, we don't have that information. It's going to be very hard. So Isaac and I, about a year ago, started a publishing company. This is a book on my grant. Okay, so it's just pictures, stories. It's my story of my grandmother, and it's something that I truly believe in that we have to do. And it really, it's a disgrace, I think, that when we all die, we just become a stone or a pile of ashes. Right? Everybody has such wonderful lives and humor and lessons and insight. You could do something like that for your family, just by yourself, even if we just leave a PDF for people, But here's a funny thing. It feels like there are younger men in the family. Younger men in the family. You got boys? Okay. Younger men in the family that are going to need to know who their ancestors are. I'm a really firm believer in this because we're all alive in a very strange time. We have this weird technology thing happening, internet, all of that, social media. Every day it gets a little weirder and scarier. Imagine where it's going to be in 50 years to 100 years, right? And I did this book for my family, yes, but I also did it for my descendants who are going to be around in 100 years. That's so important. So again, just even if it's like a PDF, something that you print out, write stories, let people know what is inside of them. That just changes how they feel. And the history that we're losing every day when people pass, it's a shame, okay? Now, okay. So Herbie Joe, thank you for this. And I want to tell you where this information is coming from, okay? So you got some fluffy women in spirit, okay? Fluffier women, like I come from fluffy people, right? You got some fluffier women in spirit. Now here's an interesting thing. You're not one of these people that keeps a cell phone and like her. You don't do that? Okay, you better not ever do that, okay? And the reason being is that it feels like, and you want to be careful of the Wi-Fi routers and the banks of Wi-Fi routers that you might sit next to and all of that. They're really bringing attention to breast health. Okay, so you have breast cancer in your family? Okay, so you want to be careful of that sort of stuff because that's just something that they want you to pay attention to. Nobody should be walking around with their goddamn cell phone in their bra. That's not healthy at all. So please take that into consideration, okay? So now I'm going from here down to here. okay? Colon health. This is super important. Colon health. Be mindful and please do your own research on this because science will indicate this. Cut it out with the sausage and the bacon, right? Any of that food, cut it out because that's like nitrate laden. It's a lot of this stuff like the salamis and the pastrami's and all the weird meats that have chemicals. It's a lot of the stuff that is giving people colon cancer. Okay, so again, I've heard cancer twice. You have colon cancer in your family at all? All right, so these are things that you're gonna
I
want.
just did a colon thing, so, and I'm good.
Oh, okay, good. Good, so they would have probably talked to you about the foods that you want to avoid or have very little of? Yeah, okay, so please do your research because there's a lot of that. My grandfather, who passed from colon cancer.
Actually,
What?
well, you're during that, but my dad, I used to get on him about that.
Okay,
And, yeah, very much so. And he had,
of the colon, yeah. Okay. So you got that genetics. Okay, so they're bringing my attention to that. My
I think I
grandfather.
repress a lot of it.
Yeah, I get it. We do. So a lot of people get psychic amnesia. I'll be talking to them and then they'll like message me and go like, oh yeah, that was a thing, you know, yada, yada, yada. But my grandfather would always like, him and my gran would drive to McDonald's every day, sit in the parking lot and have a sausage biscuit. And it's like the sausage and the biscuit and that fatty stuff.
You just buy hot dogs.
You did? Okay. So, or feed them to the hogs. I don't know. But you want to be careful of that stuff. And please, again, do your research around the weird meated chemical stuff because that, like, it's out there. The information is out there. That's something that really contributes to that. Okay. And I also want to ask you, any TMJ or tight jaw stuff? You do? Okay. So I'm really getting on that. So again, I get a lot of that like medical stuff for people. So there's, I'd love for you to get a massage where you're laying on your back and they're just like, you know, somebody that really knows how to like get in that neck, get in that jaw, loosen that stuff up. But maybe, oh my gosh. So your dad is in spirit? He's a joker? I don't know, because there's this person coming through who's like, oh, maybe you should take your job a little bit less seriously, you wouldn't clench your jaw so much. So, right, that energy of like, right, taking it a little bit too seriously, because I think that you can do everything that you want to do without taking it too seriously, right? So now they're saying, pull the wad out of your throat. So you've got like, you got to speak up a little bit more. You got to speak up a little bit more. I want you to get with Teresa. Okay. So Teresa is going to help you draw some hard boundaries. No more of this bullshit. Okay. No more of this bullshit. Now, so it's funny. I think you got like a little weirdo inside of you. Here's a funny thing. Here's a funny thing because whatever delights you in your home, right? Whatever quirky things that you have, strange things. And I'm like being drawn up to this doll arm thing. Do you see this up here?
I don't now.
So, okay, it's over here, right? So it's a doll head with like two arms sticking out. It's freaking weird and awesome in equal measure, you know what I mean? So it feels like, you know, if you, I'm like getting Tim Burton stuff. If you have any sort of like strange or unusual proclivities and like just make your house your home in that way that if you want like, you know that, the lamp that's the lady's leg, you know, weird shit like that, you know, something like that. Lean into a little bit of quirkiness, right? Because we can, okay? Absolutely. Again, being really cautious of what's going on here. You know, how old are you? Can I ask? I'm just going to ask. You're 50, okay. You're a beautiful 50. Look at you. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm 44. It feels like we're kind of like the same generation-ish, okay? You live until you're 80, you're still gonna like have 30, 40 years of that impact of that food on your belly and your gut. So please take that into consideration, okay? And what I'm tasting now for you, and I want you to research this as well, apple cider vinegar. So apple cider vinegar might help with the digestive stuff, all of that. Do you take that?
I was for a while.
Okay. So was your digestion better? Okay, so I want you to get back to that. You might want to sweeten it up with some honey or something because it is acidic and bitter, but there's something that you can do. Don't take the pills I hear. You know, they have the like apple cider vinegar supplements and all that. It's got to be the real stuff. Get the real stuff with the mother, so you get that bacteria in your belly to help with that. That's going to be chef's kiss. It's going to be something very, very good for you. So thank you for showing up. You get a clover too. Okay. I'm going right over here to this one. What's that?
My dad was like,
Those old Scottish men, I tell you. This woman just to your left, Herbie Joe. Could I get your name, please?
Laura.
Laura. Okay.
because I scooted over here because I wanted to be able to see you, and I was like, no, I just
Okay.
can't see you.
Because I didn't know if like maybe I didn't know if somebody was maybe supervising Laura on her trip here. I'll be like, Laura, very good for you. I'm so happy you took a shower. Did you use soap? Okay, so Laura, what I want to talk to you about, and I'm going right from you, from Herbie Joe to you. There is this very insightful way of you solving problems for people. But what's interesting is that I'm feeling like you've just been like, you just don't want to do it anymore. You're just bitter and tired, and people have not listened to you, and you're just sick of the bullshit. You're sick of them, and it's like, I'm just giving up. Just giving up. I don't want to help you. I don't want to solve your problems. I don't want to do any of
I
that.
don't want to be the fixer anymore. Yeah, I'm
Done.
fix me. That's what I'm doing.
Well, I'm gonna do my damnedest. Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna
No,
try.
I'm trying to fix me.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Perfect. 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 Now, you got property at home.
It's not mine, I rent.
You rent. Okay. Are there apple trees out back?
There are.
There's apple trees out back. Do you have the deer come in?
Yeah,
You do. Okay. 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 So, can I ask you? Do I ask you? Hello, hippie. No. So I want to ask you about the apple trees and the deer. Okay. You ever see them do weird things? Like come in at weird times, do
yeah,
weird
it
things?
just happened a while back. There was a deer, 2 deers. They were walking and the turkey vultures were following them. And I was watching out the window and I was like, why are they following them like that? Did they just have a baby? What
Yeah,
was
and
happening?
So you've had some weird stuff happen.
Yeah.
You had some weird stuff. Hippies don't bother me, Amy. It's cool. Yeah. Yay, hey, hey. So, for you, again, your name's Laura again? Okay, so Laura, what I'm getting with that, like, weirdness with the animals and stuff, these are men in spirit visiting you. Okay, so they're like, they do stuff with animals, they influence animals, they're coming through, they want to show you that they're there because there's this just very lonely feeling, like I've been abandoned by these men that I loved and all of that. There's these men in spirit around you who very much want you to know that they are with you at all times. And they can do weird things. You know, when that, like, we see the cardinals,
Yes.
right? And we're like, oh my gosh, if somebody was here, right?
Yeah.
That's not the only animal that they can influence or manipulate in that way.
Okay.
But super important for you to know that you're not alone. Okay, you're not alone. Now, you're gonna feel like you should have, like, there's gonna be this inner conflict in you of like, I fixed people, I'm trying to fix people, and then you're like, no, I'm done with it. I need you to get rid of that conflict because that's the best thing for you.
To fix people?
No, to not,
Oh,
to know your boundaries, to know that you can't solve their problems,
Yeah.
that you can't take care of them, they have to figure it out for themselves.
Yeah.
With that being said, this feels like, and remember, I'm not walking around with this plumbing, okay? But it feels like that has a significant impact, the stress has a significant impact on your lady beds.
Yes.
Okay, and again, I'm just saying, like, the more stress you have, the more it manifests in the plumbing, right?
Right.
Okay, you gotta know that getting rid of the stress is really saving your life, or saving your health in that way. So you've got to know that that's the absolute best thing for you, to not be a doormat. And to not just, it just feels like vampires all around you, just taking and sucking and taking and sucking and draining you, and just having to say, no more of that. So, Teresa, you might be starting a support group, my friend, okay? Super important too, because we gotta have those boundaries, because the love and the grace and the compassion that we give to people, if we don't have boundaries, that's a self-sabotage.
Right.
Self-sabotage. This is why, you see me tattooed with roses? I'm all about the roses, right? We're all a rose. It's all about love. But if the rose doesn't have the thorns, it gets trampled on. So that's boundaries for you. I need you to have some boundaries, okay? Did you come with the person that's to your left?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm glad that she finally listened to you. Okay? In this way of just like, that's not your problems to solve, that's not your things to do. Could I get your name, please?
Phyllis.
Phyllis, okay. So Phyllis, I love the advice you give, you just need to take it for yourself. Okay?
Peas in a pod.
What's that, Laura?
We're peas in a pod.
He's in a pod, okay.
Yeah.
So in the way that you've maintained your boundaries, and you're like, I'm not fixing anymore, I'm not fixing anymore. Phyllis, if you had anything to do with that, I really want to commend you on giving her that encouragement to say, hey, that's not your problem, that's not your issue. A lot of us try to prove to ourselves and the people around us how strong we are by trying to spin all these plates and carry all these burdens. I think this person, Phyllis, has a far deeper intuitive level than most people. So when I'm talking about intuition, Phyllis, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So the way I understand intuition to be, this psychic stuff, it exists on a scale of 0 to 10. Just like singing and athleticism and all of that. Some people are way down here, zeros and ones, right? Always like falling on their face, falling on their face. Then you have people that are way up here on that scale that are just very skillful in getting through life because they have a deep intuitive connection, they have a deep connection to spirit. Okay? Now, are you also the keeper of memories?
Yes.
You got the photos, you got all of that.
I won't let him go.
No, I wouldn't let him go. I wouldn't let him go, but what I want you to do is in your own way to please get him into photo albums, please get him into digital places where you can share them. You know, let people have the digital files, do something like that. You know, the thing that I was talking about with the phone, that sounds very appealing, right? Being able to share and do all of that. Now, this woman, who's very beautiful, like she's a bright ray of sunshine, big, beautiful hair, all of that. Can I ask you, oh my gosh, is your mom gone?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to get a big hug from her. Is she a big, like, warm love?
With me, yeah. Not with everybody.
No, with you, like,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, she'd hug me. I know she would. Okay, so here's something funny. She just wants to get a little bit of that man. That's a funny thing. She just wants to get a man, right? So, but I feel very like dependability, wisdom, insight, intuition, beauty, grace, love, all of that. I do want you to know that your strong intuitive abilities come from this woman. Okay, just come from your ladies, come through that line that you're descended from, okay? There's this need for you, and I'm going to tell you why I'm saying this, there's this need for you to do Christmas better, okay? Christmas. The reason that I say this, it's not a Christ thing, it's not a Christian thing. We are walking into the darkest time of year. You know, we have Christmas around the winter solstice. Remember how I was talking about vitamin joy?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm a big lover of Halloween because it's the month of death, and traditionally it's when we're like harvesting all our livestock, right? So there's a lot of death this month. We need the joy, the trick-or-treating, the masks, the games, the costumes to stand in opposition to the turmoil and the pain and the grief. Now when you're in the darkest time of year, we need the smells and the tastes and the colors and the lights and all of that. So if you don't have anybody in your house, you don't have anybody to do Christmas for, you need to have a Christmas tree. You need to have the pot of orange and cinnamon on the stove, making that smell, all of that. You need to do that because as soon as daylight savings time hits and it's 4 o'clock and it's dark out, it feels like you take a nosedive. Okay, so a lot of us suffer from that seasonal affective disorder. But what's fascinating with you is that I get that because you have a higher level of intuition, that you're also suffer more from the seasonal affective disorder, okay? And I don't know if you know this, but it also feels that you need sodium in your body. Are you on low on sodium?
Am I low on sodium? I don't know.
Okay. Do you not eat a lot of salt?
I don't purposely eat a lot of salt, no. I try
Okay.
not to.
Well, every body is different, and you might want to get your sodium levels checked because it just feels like salts that stuff up. My body, I need a lot of sodium. I need a lot of sodium. It's just almost like ocean water, okay? All right. So I know that you keep a lot of stuff on the inside. You don't share a lot with a lot of people, but I'm going to take it down a notch for this mama of yours. This is important for you to hear. You never disappointed her. You never abandoned her. You never did any of that stuff. She wants you to know that you're very selfless in that way. And it doesn't feel like you had a selfish bone in your body on any part of your life. So please know that any grief that you feel around her, you got to sit with it in this way that we don't hold it like a badge of honor. Because a lot of us will do that with grief. We want to hurt harder to kind of show them, you know, well, if I can cling to this pain, I'm going to cling to you. We kind of get grief wrong in this world. But it's very important for you to understand we move through grief so our spirits can be at peace. And if you're going through an emotional process that you would never want another human being to go through, your mom is watching you go through that. You want her to be at peace? I mean, I know it's a redundant question, but I got to ask you, the only really way that she can achieve peace in the world of spirit is when she's watching through that one-way mirror to you to make sure that you have peace. That's super important. I think that we don't get that. A lot of us will believe that our loved ones carry on, but a lot of us won't put those pieces together and go, okay, I got to maximize my peace to make sure they have peace. Okay. Did you do crossword puzzles?
My mom?
Yeah.
Can't remember. She might have done. She probably did. Yeah, but I don't remember doing them all the time.
Word searches, crossword puzzles, anything like that?
Yeah, she did, I think.
Okay. There's a need for you to do that too. Okay, so there's something about your mind being an active, nimble, always stretching it, always doing those games. If we don't keep our mind active, what happens to it? It turns into a bunch of slush, right?
Right.
That's where the dementia and the Alzheimer's and stuff, that can help contribute to that. So would you have any of that in your family?
I think my mom did have some dementia.
Okay. So again, these are all very strange things. They all have weird things that happen to them to cause them to happen. But every single one of us should be exercising our mind in the same way that we exercise our body. So you're gonna wanna no games on the phone.
I don't do games.
No. But like a lot of people will hear that and go, oh, I'll just do some games on the phone.
Oh.
No, that's not what that is.
Yeah.
This is like getting a book of crossword puzzles and word searches and those things to keep this going. Okay? Also, she's got a gravestone. All right. Go give her some roses, please. Have you not been there in a while? All right. There's this I want to connect with you, bring some roses, bring some stuff, because this big love and energy, she says light a candle for her. So light a candle for your ancestors, light a candle for your spirits, and just know that they're there. And that stuff can bring them closer to you and kind of increase that intuition. Okay? Here's a funny thing. You got to know, okay, so there's a difference between a gossip and a busybody. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, so gossip's to spread malicious information.
Right.
Busybody's just stories and what's going on. When you get to the world of spirit with your mom, you two are going to talk a whole lot of shit about people. Well, she's got to fill you in because where she's at, she's got to fill you in. So you guys were sisters then, like sisters, right?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time together.
Yeah, chit-chatting,
Yeah.
talking, all that stuff. That's so good. And when you leave your body and you go to the world of spirit, she's just going to welcome you and fill you in on all sorts of crazy shit. Okay? She will. Okay. So thank you for showing up. I know that you probably had a little bit of apprehension, a little bit of what's this weird stuff going on?
I just felt really anxious for some reason coming here. I don't know what it was, but,
Well, and again, that's a thing too, because a lot of people can feel that level of nervousness, but that might be a thing where, here's a funny thing that I've discovered. Our spirits, and I'm looking at you in the back, Missy, our spirits will cause us to feel certain things until we do a certain thing, and then it's our foot gets taken off the throat.
Mm-hmm.
So, we do have loving spirits, but if we're headed in the wrong direction or they want us to push us in a certain direction, they're going to bake us. They're going to microwave us in a certain energy to go do that thing, and then we do the thing and the pressure comes off.
I've been kind of feeling that lately. So I don't know what it is it's supposed to do yet, but.
Watch your knees.
Well, my knees, my hips, whatever.
Yeah. Do you need a knee brace?
No, I don't know.
Okay. So just be careful you don't end up that woman on a cane.
Yeah.
Okay? Was she on a cane?
She was a walker.
Okay. So So walking assistance. So there might be this need for you, because imagine if you have this like vitality of going to like 80, 90, right? But you're not exercising, you're not taking care of yourself, you know, sure you can get to that age because your heart, everything's gonna keep you going. But if you get to that age and you're all frail, it's like a car. And you gotta take care of the vehicle, you gotta take care of that holy vessel. So that's a little bit of that pressure, okay? And again, I feel like, you know, doing some walking upstairs, you know, maybe even a stair stepper or something like that to help with those things, to strengthen the muscles in those knees and hips, okay? Thank you for being her. Make sure that you're always talking to her, and if you feel her in your passenger seat, when you're driving around, she's there with you. Okay? Much love to you. Take care of yourself. We gotta go to this person right here. So this is a funny thing. I'm talking to you the whole time, and it's like, go to the second row, second person over.
Right.
Okay. Can I get your name, please?
Melody.
Melody. Okay, Melody. All right. So there's a theme developing here. Okay. There's a theme developing here because what I'm getting for you, Melody, is that you've got a sword. You got a sword. So I think you and Teresa would get along great. Okay? So there's a strength, and what I'm saying is like there's an unforgiveness about you. There's an unforgiveness about you that when somebody is done with you, or like you're done with somebody, it's kind of like me. When I'm done with somebody and somebody's outside of my circle, they're dead to me. I've got like a sword. You're very much that same way. Okay, so who are you next to Melody?
I'm Lori.
Lori? Okay,
Yes.
you know this about Melody, right?
Yes.
Okay, we need to have that. We need to carry a strong sword in this world. Why? Because we need to take care of grandmother's granddaughter, right? We need to take care of the person that's taking care of everybody else. The way that I'm kind of cold and heartless with people that want to bring me trouble, I'm taking care of my husband's husband. I'm taking care of my parents' son. I'm taking care of my child's father. You think I'm going to have any doubt or hesitation about cutting a person out of my life? I will cut a person out of my life so hard, so fast, and they're never coming back. So, your way that you do this, I want to tell you that you're a role model. Okay? Now, we're going to be raised in this world where we're taught that we have to be doormats, especially women. Right? Women have to be like a doormat. They have to do everything, be everything, solve all the problems, be the bullshit hunter supremes, and put themselves last on the list. You feel in this wonderful way that you are taking care of your heart, your mind, your body, your spirit, all of that, and you understand on a very deep, intuitive level that as you do so, you're taking care of everybody else in that same way. So like my husband and I, when we come together, right? I can't take care of him. He really can't take care of me. The best way that I can take care of our relationship is taking care of me. Do you get that? Okay, so I want to applaud you and commend you for this sword that you carry, because again, there's going to be this cultural conditioning of you having to take everybody's shit. So here's a funny thing. What I'm getting is that you're trying not to be like the women that raised you. You get that?
Yeah.
Okay. There's going to be that conflict. Now, the men who would have raised you are applauding this. Now, do you have brothers?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a fascinating message for you. Friggin' A, the things that I have to say sometimes. You're a better man than the men in your family.
Really?
Okay? And what I mean by that is we think of like how do we say? You better get some snacks, girls. Okay, so what I'm saying is that we kind of expect, we get taught that the men are the tough ones and the women are like the soft, gushy ones and all of that. There's a level of integrity around you, a level of steadfastness and dependability, and part of that comes from the sword you carry, the boundaries that you have, and the way that you take no shit.
That's awesome.
No, I truly just need you to know that that's important for everybody, right?
Yeah.
It's a weird thing because we get raised with all the wrong ideas about womanhood and menhood and all of that. So I'm all a big fan of this DNA test stuff. So whenever you do a DNA test, I gotta tell you this story. Oh my gosh. So I gotta tell you this story so you understand this. My grandmother would tell me this story and she was so proud. My mom, I don't know how many of y'all are local here, but you guys remember a bar in Littleton called Jeremiah's?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So my mom, right, at 19 years old, when drinking with her brothers, and apparently in the 70s it was the thing to do to bar brawl. I don't know. Yeah. So my mom, right, at 19 years old, it took 5 policemen to hold her down, to restrain my mother. Okay. Oh, I know, right? I know. Bless her heart. So, funny thing. And my grandmother loved to tell that story because she had to put the bond up for the farm to go bail her kids out, all of that, right? That she'd always love to tell this. She went to the police station to bail her kids out, and the cop there was like, you know, it took 5 grown men to hold your daughter down. And my grandmother looked right at him and said, if you ever want to call yourself a man again, I would never repeat that story. Now, here's a funny thing. Through the DNA test, right, there's a website that I found where if you upload your raw DNA file, they'll tell you, they've got all these samples of these graves around the world, like warriors and gladiators and kings and all of this. They've taken samples from these bodies, and they can tell you who you're related to. My mom is descended from what's called the Berka Shield Maiden. The Berka Shield Maiden is this woman that they discovered on an island outside of Sweden called Berka. They dug up this grave and it had horses and weapons and games and all of this stuff. It was a military leader, and they were all like, oh, it's a male, of course, until they did her DNA test and found out that this woman, who was like 5'8", was leading armies into battle.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so the stuff that we've been taught about women and their place in this world and all of that, it's not necessarily true, right, or fair. So we're going to be like led, oh, we're going to be the nurturer, we're going to be the caretaker, all of that. The way that you are very cold and decisive in who's in your life and who's not, I got to commend you for that. Okay? Now, what's your name again?
Lori.
Lori? Okay, take a page out of her book. Okay? Please take a page out of her book. Now, maybe not as far as Melody. Okay? Because here's a funny thing. I've got a woman, just very sweet, and this might be I get the older dead versus the younger dead, and she's giving me like jams and jellies, like she would have like canned or done something like that. So this could be very much like a grandmother of yours, somebody that was very, very sweet-hearted, very like all of that. You gotta balance the sword with the sweet, okay? Now, around you, I'm seeing dice, like rolling dice. Did you ever play games with Yahtzee with people?
Absolutely.
Anything? You did?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So there's this need to bring these games back into your life, to have this level of play. I'm not sure your relationship, it doesn't matter, but it's
Best friend.
best friends, okay. So this thing here, Melody and Lori, right? So Lori, you gotta pick up the sword a little bit. Melody, you gotta pick up the sweet a little bit. Okay? You gotta pick up, you gotta take from each other. And I'm sure you have over the years, but there's something about, okay, you make a great dentist. Are you a dental hygienist or anything like that?
No.
You're not? Okay. Do you know how a person needs to be a nurse, to be a doctor, to be those things? You need to be clinically detached,
Yeah.
right? You'd be a great clinician. What are you? Can I ask? What do you do?
Oh, I'm food service director.
You're a
for
food service
school
director.
district.
Interesting. So there's a level of healing there, a level of caregiving, all of that, but you're all businesswoman. Like, you're all business. Now, that's excellent. It's excellent, right? And I love that because, again, I am speaking to this conflict inside of you that sometimes you have to, like, say the hard things. You have to do the hard things, and you're going to be like, oh, man, was that too tough? You weren't. You were just right. Now,
She's my boss too.
Alright, so you can, it's true, okay, so you can speak from experience, all right. So then you're gonna also know this, Lori, because when Melody speaks, people listen. And so when Melody, you're speaking and you tell somebody to do a certain thing, they're like, okay, I will. Do you know this?
Well,
Do you see it?
I see it some, but I hope it's out of respect, not, oh my God.
Well, fear, respect, what's the difference? I don't know. I don't know. It's super important for you to lean into that. Okay. Now, big on Christmas, big on giving gifts. Okay, you got to give yourself a gift, and this is important because what they're showing me is like the bottom of the Christmas tree just loaded with gifts, right? Just want to give and give and give and give and give. But I'm also getting this impression that in the same way that you give to others, you got to give to yourself, because it doesn't feel like there's many people in your life that are giving to you. So I need you to put you on the Christmas list as well. An interesting thing that I'm hearing is a trip to Cancun. Okay, trip to Cancun.
I know.
What, you want to travel?
Yeah, we love surf fishing, we,
Surf fishing?
up the ocean on the beach.
Ah,
Fishing,
yes.
surf fishing.
Yes, I'm sure they do that in Cancun, right? So a trip to Cancun, something like that. What I'm also hearing is January. Can you take a break in January?
February, not January.
February, okay, go for the February break. Go through the break after Christmas. So like,
Yeah.
you know, that one, 6 weeks, it's 6 weeks kind of after Christmas break.
Yeah.
You're gonna wanna plan that. Super important because you might get to the point where you can't travel. You know what I mean? Every year we age, we get a little bit more
Right.
frailer and traveling's hard. And it definitely feels like you're at the time in your life where you wanna make sure that you're giving yourself a vacation after your vacation. Do you know what I mean? When you go to vacation and then you get back and I'm exhausted. Okay, so what I'm getting for you, and this is important, you're gonna wanna give yourself 3 days when you get back that you can acclimate back into business, okay? So, you got a whole bunch of time off that you need to use?
Good.
Like 8 hours, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, more than that? It feels like you got a lot of time off that you're not using.
Yeah.
So make sure, you know, take a week off, take a 10-day break, take a week off, 3 days at the end, okay? Very important. Okay, so here's, again, I have to pass this out to everybody so we know this. I have found through this work that there is no such place as hell. There's no lake of fire where we're burning for all eternity because we didn't get baptized or any of that stuff, right? I know, right? But girl, be careful. No. No. So, but I do need to explain to you this. There is suffering in the world of spirit. There is, because there's regret. When we leave our life, we leave our body, we get to the other side of that one-way mirror, we look back on the life we led, the things we did or didn't do. To me, hell is regret. And every day of our life is an opportunity for us to reduce the amount of regret we feel when we pass. So when I say that, you know, you're not going to have much time to do this, I am feeling that, but that's important for you to remember. We're all going to die,
Right.
right? We got to remember, we're all going to die. We're going to make the most of the life we're given. And it's super important because it feels like, girl, you were dragging rags. Just doing the thing, living the life, doing the thing. And if you've got 80 to 120 hours of time off, go use it. You got people like Lori that work for you? Okay, so they can run the ship while you're gone. Or, you know, you got people that can take care of stuff while you're gone. Go do it. So you gotta like let go a little bit. All right, so super important. And I think that's important for everybody to hear that we're all gonna die. And we're all gonna look back on the life we led. And we all have quite a bit of time before we die. We can make the most of this life. We should be. That's what I'm doing every day, baby. Every day, every day. Thank you for showing up. Okay, so clutter causes you anxiety. Clean your house or get a housekeeper. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so especially if the people that you're in the house with aren't gonna do it as well, like just come to terms with that. If you're not living with somebody who's gonna clean your house or stay up on stuff, get a housekeeper or make time to do it yourself or figure out how to not be anxious about it. Okay? You got a porch?
No, I want one.
Okay, got a foyer or a pantry or someplace that you walk into?
Yeah.
Okay. Does the flooring need to be done in there? Okay, that's what I'm seeing. It's like a place where you walk right in. And when I say it has to be done, it feels like, you know, snow water and stuff could be getting underneath it, through the tile or the linoleum or whatever it is. You know, that's not healthy for anybody. You got a woman that is all about, you got a handyman that's living with you?
Oh, yeah, my husband.
As a handyman.
Oh, very, yeah.
Okay. You got a woman that's saying he needs to get off his ass. It's like, when you have a sword, you got like his grandmother figure, got glasses, all of that, she's like, get him off his bum, to get him to do this thing. The reason being is, again, when I see building stuff, when I see home stuff, there is a level of it affecting your health. Do you get it? So there's got to be some stuff going on underneath the tiles or things like that. You know, you don't want to wear a mask while you're doing that, kicking it up, all of that. But you should have everything that you want. And then, interesting, once that's all done, build yourself that little bench. You know what I mean? You want the little bench that like you can sit down
Yeah.
and you want it, but you don't have it? Okay, get that bench, because if your vertigo goes and you're bent over trying to do, you're trying to take off your shoes, you guys are gonna want, as you get up there, a place to sit down and take those shoes off. Okay?
When you bring up vertigo, I have it all the time. All the time.
It's not funny, it's the thing I do. It's the thing I do. So the reason that they're bringing that up is because get the flooring done. Wintertime's a good time. If this guy's got slower work, you can do the flooring, you can build you the bench. Funny that I'm seeing like the tongue and groove board.
Yeah,
You got some old style house, that sort of thing that the tongue and groove board will go good with. Does he have scraps of tongue and groove board kicking around?
yeah.
That's what I'm seeing. Like, you don't even have to buy new material. Your bench is only going to be up this high. You can do the scraps of tongue and groove board. All of that. The guy could turn what I'm hearing is that guy could turn a pallet into a palace.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Okay, so we can take the scraps and do that with, but I don't want you guys to, one, fall over because of your vertigo, or two, develop any sort of respiratory illness because the water from the rain and the mud and the snow is getting to where it shouldn't be and it's starting to cause mold and all that stuff. Thank you for showing up. Remember the Christmas presents for you, okay? Cancun, baby, Cancun. Kokomo. Where's Kokomo? Kokomo. I don't know. Go. You should, okay? So, our woman in blue. Our woman in blue. I love this. Could I use your name, please? Elaine. Okay. Do you come here with somebody?
Yes,
Okay.
friend Heidi.
Friend Heidi. Okay. So Heidi, you've known Elaine for a bit? Okay. So, what I'm getting about you, Elaine, and this is very important, I make a distinction, and this is very important. There are in this world actual Christians, and there are in this world what I call agenda Christians. So there are people who would lead their life based on the tenets of Christ. Love, compassion, grace, love thy neighbor, don't judge anybody, all of that. And then there are people who will take all of that, twist it around, and want to separate and judge and do all of that. Okay. So I don't know what your relationship is with religion. It doesn't matter because you're just a good person. Now, here's an interesting thing that I've got for you. You've got women in your line that are actual Christians. Good, helpful, gracious, grace. I'm just feeling this absolute grace. We've got to commend people who would have gone through really tough lives to be able to also lean into grace. Because tough lives can turn us jaded and bitter and judgy and bitchy and all of that. Apparently, you bring beauty wherever you go. So Heidi, do you know this? Everything that she touches, everything that she does is beauty.
She's a blessing.
She's a blessing. Now, again, I have to make this distinction because, any world religion is problematic, and I just keep it simple, right? We got the word of Christ, and then we got people who are going to pollute it. You just feel like a very good Christian to me, without maybe even being one. Do you get what I mean? Okay, gracious, loving, all of that. I guess somebody's making doilies, okay? Do you have a mom or a grandma who made doilies?
My grandmother.
My grandmother made doilies. Very much gracious, compassionate, loving, beautiful, just bring beauty and love and grace wherever she went to. Okay. For all of that, what I'm getting is she wants you to speak up a little bit more. I keep getting the impression that your throat is blocked, and whenever I feel that, it's like we gotta pull a paper towel out of our throat to be able to speak and talk and say the things. Because you know how I was talking about in the beginning when it was like, okay, I know why I'm getting this for you. You know when I was talking about in the beginning about intuition? Okay? So intuition is that thing, man, I should listen to it so I can avoid the problems. Okay? What you've done over the course of your life is that you're feeling things about people that you love, but you're not speaking up. You're not saying the things that need to be said to sons and brothers and people that you're like, well, should you be doing that? Should you be not doing that? So there's this really you want to make sure that everybody loves you, nobody's upset with you, you don't want to upset anybody or push them away, but you've got a higher intuitive connection from your spirit. The spirit is like water. It's going to go through the path of least resistance. So if you're walking around connected to emotions and grace and that stuff, you're going to have more of a hint about things that are going to happen to the people around you, and I need you to be able to speak up to them. Okay? I need you to be able to speak up to them. Can I ask you, do you have a son?
Yes.
Okay. Could you remind him not to gamble? Okay? So it's an interesting thing. Is he a risk taker? You don't think so? Okay. Is he, there's something about, maybe this is something that you needed to speak up about when he was younger, and you just didn't, and you kind of fell on his face about stuff. This feels like business stuff. Does he own his own business?
No,
Okay.
no.
Is he, you got to check in with him, because is he doing anything like with real estate or money or anything like that? There is a thing where you need to tell him that he needs to play it safe. Does he have any big changes in his life that are going on? Heidi, do you know this? Do you know his son, her son?
I know about that, but I don't know.
I have two. Two.
Which one is the risk taker? Think of the reckless one. It doesn't matter. You don't even have to say it, right? What's that, Heidi? You don't think?
I don't think they're really reckless, no.
So there could be stuff going
I mean,
on.
I have one, you know, it depends on the interpretation of reckless. I have one that's an adventure seeker and a mountain climber and a rock climber. And
Yeah, it's a little reckless. I'm getting up there. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So as he's getting older, he might want to like, let's not gamble so much. Let's not be as reckless, because that is a good definition of reckless, the adventure seeker. Okay. So especially if you're feeling that, you know, if you're feeling things and you're like, maybe I should mention something to them. Make sure you mention it, because remember how I was talking about regret? I would rather everybody in this room say the thing that needs to be said and not have to say it, versus wishing they had said it. So you might want to just check in with your adventure seeker, or any of your sons in general, and be like, hey, got any big changes? And again, this is an interesting thing for me, because it feels like you don't want to intrude, you don't want to impose, you don't want to I don't want to know your business, I don't want to get in your business, I don't want to do anything. So even asking them if they have things going on in this world feels like it would be a challenge for you. Because it's not being intrusive, it's not being imposing, it's just checking in, okay? It's like that mother's love, okay? I got a mom who checks in on me all the time. How you doing? I'm like, okay, Mom. So I want you to really lean into that. Because the adventure seeker, you're going to want to touch base. And this is like, again, it might be business, real estate, things like that, taking a risk, thinking that they can do a thing, and it may not work out well for them. So this is that idea of checking, you know, dot all your T's, cross all your I's, that sort of thing. So please check in with them. Heidi, remind her, okay? Please. She will? Okay. May I ask you, are you a Christian? Okay. And I love this, because I feel like, can I ask you, do you have a picture of Jesus up in your house?
I don't have a picture up in the house, no.
You don't, okay.
No.
It's just, I don't know if your grandmother did, but if there is a symbol of something of that religion that feels very touching to you or gives you peace, we can bet it. I mean, like Grateful Dead flag up there. There are symbols and pictures and things in our world that can really touch us. Okay, so if you're feeling like there's not a connection to that stuff for you, I really feel like you should put something like that up. Okay, if you're of the Catholic variety, maybe it's a saint, maybe it's something like that. I don't know, but it just feels like I've never told anybody we need to bring Jesus into their house before. So do you have an old picture of Jesus that's like an heirloom from a family member?
I might, yeah.
Okay, I want you to go through that stuff, because that might be something that your spirits appreciate. I could talk to you about the Jesus energy, but I'm not going to. Because it's not about Jesus, it's about the word of Jesus. Right? It's about what he was talking about. And I find that interesting because 5,000 years ago, you know, Jesus was apparently 2,000 years ago, but 5,000 years ago, if you were born, if we were born, we wouldn't know who Jesus was. We would just know what love was. And that's what he was talking about. And that's the important distinction to make. But I do believe that you have some symbols, paintings, pictures, something like that that you could put up in your home that would give you a connection. If Jesus is a symbol of love to you, put it up in your home, please. Super, super important. So thank you for being here. Remember that you bring beauty everywhere that you go. You've got to know that. And it's just, I don't know you from Adam or Eve, right? But you should just recognize that you bring beauty, but that is also going to require that sometimes you say the difficult things to continue to bring beauty in that way. Thank you for being here. Heidi, thank you for showing up. Okay? I'm going back to the woman in the denim. Hello. Can I get your name, please?
Phyllis.
Phyllis. Okay. So, another Phyllis. Did we have a Phyllis here before? Okay. So, Phyllis, I want to thank you. And here's an important, the reason that I have to thank you is you're a survivor. Okay? Now, over the course of your life, you would have had to make hard choices, done the tough things to survive, to get out of situations, to move into better situations, to do all of that. So you're the definition of somebody who swims versus sinks. Now, who'd you come here with?
My son.
Your son. What's your name?
David.
David. So you've been with her quite a while. 40 years. 40 years? Yeah, okay. So you watched your mom, Phyllis, survive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you, Phyllis, a single mom throughout the course of your life?
No, well, kinda, I guess, yeah. Like, I didn't do it by myself, but then I was by myself, I
Okay.
guess,
So, no. So there's a level of independence in doing it by yourself.
yes.
Okay. So with that being said, I want to talk to you about tough choices that you've had to have made. Okay? And it feels like, and David, you might not know this because of, we get a lot of stuff not held, like our parents keep a lot of stuff away from us. But it feels like you've had multiple choices, A, B, and C, and every single one of them would have been a tough choice to make.
That's
Like-
fair.
Yeah, like every single one of them would have been a tough choice to make. I could move here, I could do this, I could do that, and it sucks, and sucks. Every single one of them is bad. Now, the reason that I have to bring this up, because everybody here's got to know that we're judged in the world of spirit. Like, the world of spirit is vast and massive and as complicated as this natural world is. And what I've come to find is that in the world of spirit, there are some big spirits, the angels. And I've got particular opinions about angels and gods and goddesses and all that. But there's a funny way that they judge us. And I want to tell you, in the world of humans, every human falls into one of three groups of people. Remember a bell curve from school? Okay. So I want you to keep the bell curve in mind. Over here, group one is the worst group. There will always be a group of humans that are going to do the worst things possible. They're going to hurt, they're going to torture, they're going to do just really awful things. And as long as humanity's around, there's going to be a group of people that do that intentionally. Now at the top of the bell curve, you have most people. Up here, group two, pretty much everybody in this world is trying to do the damnedest that they can with what they got, and they never mean to hurt people. But somewhere along the way, they're going to make a choice or take an action that's going to cause pain or imbalance in the lives of other people. And then, on the other side of the bell curve, we have the people that just have the hearts of gold. They're trying to do the best that they can for everybody around them. They're really just leaning into healing and bringing peace. Okay, every one of your choices, when you had to make, out of three choices, whenever you had to make a choice, essentially what you were doing is you were trying to figure out what place you could go to, what decision that you had to make would bring the most peace to your people. Okay, but you're somebody, and I think a lot of people in this room can relate to this, you're somebody who had made choices, and just, I was talking about look at the windshield instead of the rear view. You're going to have made choices over the course of your life that would have caused problems or imbalance in the people that you would have loved. And I don't need you to beat yourself up on that because you're group three. All of your days, you're group three. At your lowest, darkest moment, you did the best you could with what you had, with a limited amount of experience, wisdom, and resources at your disposal. But you took your life and you took everything that you were doing so seriously that when the bad things happen, you're going to kick yourself in the pants and think that you're group one. And you're a survivor. And I have to really illustrate that to you. Now, David, what I need you to know is thank you for not abandoning her. Because apparently, I don't think that's in your blood, I don't think it's in your heart, but I would feel like Phyllis would have been abandoned by the people around her that she would have counted on and all of that. Thank you for not abandoning her. Now, you gotta know that your mom is hurting, so you got pain. And Phyllis, I don't know how you get rid of that pain. There's conventional therapy, you know, there's spiritual people, like my husband who does Reiki, you know, there's all sorts of things that you can do. But here's the funny thing. I need you to get near rivers, water, and covered bridges. You like covered bridges?
I like the water.
You like the water, okay. So where do you live?
Top of a mountain.
So, the reason, because I live in Lunenburg, right? We got that big bridge there, got the Connecticut River. I'm like the 8th generation that's lived either in Dalton or Lunenburg, right? So I've got this love of the river. Not so much the ocean or the lakes, but I love the river. There's something about that river that I'm just, my heart is there. So the water is something that I need you to go to. Now, I want to say, I got to give it up to you for surviving as much as you have, because when you get to the water, I want you to get to a place where you're alone, and I want you to scream this stuff out of your heart, because you're carrying it, almost like you deserve it and you don't. But I need you to get it out, and there's a way of releasing. There's a little trick that can be done by a lot of people, Phyllis, where you can go find like a quartz rock, a white rock, hold it up to your mouth, whisper, yell, scream, whisper your bullshit into that rock, and then ding it into the water.
I have a big chunk of crystal in my car, and I talk to myself all the time.
Well, we're going to combine those two. We're going to combine those two, and I need you to go
Now I
out.
know.
Yeah, go out and give your stuff, because, I mean, what do we have for healing in this world? Conventional therapy, you know, I mean, that's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. So we got to find ways to go out and get this stuff out of us, because it just does feel like it's eating you up from the inside. Okay, you got a back door that needs fixing? Yeah, David?
He's getting there.
He's getting there?
He is.
All right. What's that, David?
Let me finish the kitchen first.
Okay. Well, fucking hey, man, winter's coming. So, this feels like a big old draft in the bottom, you know, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Like, just got air leakage going out the back door. You know this? Okay. So even if it's one of those things that's like those rice socks, you know, that can keep it up. I mean, if you're not already fired your furnace or wood stove up, you're about to. You know what I mean? You did, okay.
It's cold.
It's cold, yeah, it's cold. So there's that back door, my friend, okay? Now, I think you're gonna have to replace the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do your mom a favor and apparently make sure that she's got a screen door. What?
Nothing, no. Yeah.
We were talking about the screen door.
Yeah, so don't skim. You know what I mean? Do the double doors. Get the screen door and the other door, because there's something about, you got lilacs out back?
On the side.
On the side,
Yeah.
when it's spring and summer, you gotta open up that door, can't let the animals out, can't let the bugs in.
See, knows.
Oh, I know a lot, girl, I know a lot. But there's something about the screen door, it's super important to you, super, super important to you. Now, remember how I said at the beginning that there's this idea of, I kind of keep it lighthearted, and I don't dive deep into a lot of the heartache and the trauma and the grief? Okay. There's a man in spirit who's very sorry to you. And I have to say this to you because I might not ever see you again. And if I don't ever see you again, I have to take this opportunity that this man who's very sorry, bitter, jaded, nasty old man, I don't know who he is, but he needs to, when I say we get to the world of spirit and we look back on the lives and what we did or did not do, this man in the world of spirit's hanging his head in shame. Okay? So I need you to know that, and he's very sorry, and he just wants the best for you because he wasn't able to give it to you while he was here. You got that? Okay. So David, what I need you to know is that you're not like this person, and I need you to know this. This is important for you to hear, that the way you strive not to be like this person, I don't know if this is a dad, grandfather, it doesn't matter, but whoever it is, the way that you're working in your life to not be like this person, I gotta applaud you and commend you. Because you're not getting that from anywhere else. Nobody else is seeing you, nobody else is talking to you, nobody else is mentioning this to you, but the way that you are the polar opposite of this person, like never gonna abandon, never gonna give up, never gonna neglect, never gonna betray, the way that you are like this is commendable, my man, and you gotta be acknowledged. Like I'm saying, a gold medal. I want to pin a gold medal on your chest. So truly super important for you to understand that, right? Now, okay. Apparently you need a motorcycle. Do you want a motorcycle?
Yeah. I'm not allowed to ride it though.
Why not?
Because I said.
If I park it at the house, she's gonna knock it over.
What's that?
If I park it at the house, she's gonna knock it over.
Don't park it there. Don't park it there. But what I need you to know is that there's a little gear head inside of you. Do you know this? Little gear head, little motors, all that. You got to get that out of you. There's some play inside of you, and I really don't, like, I would not be telling him that he should get that if he was, I've told people the opposite. Like, get off the dirt bikes, get off the motorcycles, don't do that. This man needs something to reward himself for being such a good man.
I get that.
He'll be safe.
So good, they could have 4 wheels.
We're gonna compromise, he's gonna get a trike. But he should have something, and wear your helmet, my man, all of that, wear the leather, take care of yourself. But I do think, what I know about him is he deserves to enjoy his life.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I don't want to be the asshole in your story, Phyllis. Okay? But I want you to know that that man deserves a bike.
Can you write that
It's gonna be there. So, the other thing too, I don't know if you do this stuff for a living, but what I need you to do is, when I used to landscape a long time ago, I used to landscape really hard. I used to wake up and I couldn't open up my hands. Have you ever had that happen to you? Because you gripped a shovel or a rake so hard, you had to like pry your hands open. You gotta take care of your hands, my man. There's like arthritis. It feels like coming through her mama's line. I don't know what this is. Phyllis, your mama got arthritis?
Me too.
You too, okay. You could do that. Okay. What's your name again?
David.
David, can I ask you something? You getting cramps in your calves? No. Okay, so I want you to research potassium, because I'm getting the taste of bananas. Whenever I get the taste of bananas, it means that you got a potassium issue.
Feet, like the arches of my feet.
Okay, you get cramps in your body. Yes, okay. So that's going to be important. Eat a freaking banana. My friend. Eat a banana, okay? Or have your mama, once her kitchen's done, make her banana bread.
I will.
Okay? Make a banana bread, Phyllis?
Yes.
All right, awesome. The fucking fruit flies drive you crazy. Okay. Let the bananas rot in the basement. That's what I'm saying. Let them get old in the basement. But there's something about managing all of that, okay? You got a long life, David, in front of you. You're going to want to make sure you take care of yourself so you don't spend the last 30 years of your life with hands that are like this. Okay?
Yeah.
Super, super important. Thank the both of you for being here. I'm going up here to Checkers. Hi, Checkers. Holly? Okay, well, I'm going to call you Checkers. I like the Checkers, right? I like the Checkers. So, Holly, I think that you and Phyllis would get along splendidly. The reason that I say that, a lot of the things that I was saying to Phyllis, you can relate to, right? Some of the hardest things that could ever hurt our heart: betrayal, neglect, abandonment. So, I've got a funny message for you, and here's again who this is coming from. In the same way that I was talking to Melody about being like the best dude in her family, you know what I mean? Being integrity, all of that. And these are the men coming through saying integrity, power, strength, all of it. Do you still carry your maiden name? You do. Okay, so the men who have that name, very proud men, very integrity men, like a men of integrity, honor, all of that. And I need you to know that you never deserve the worst things that happen to you. I just need you to know that. And we're going to tell ourselves that when the worst things happen to us, like abandonment, rejection, betrayal, neglect, all of that. Now, you brought somebody here? Your sister, okay. So you know this? Nieces, okay. Well, Holly, it is your turn. Because everybody else gets the fun and the glory and the trips and all of this stuff. And Holly, I gotta let you know something. You're dependable, you're honorable, and with the things that have happened to you in your world, There's all sorts of reasons why you could not be. So the reason that I'm recognizing you in this way is that you've had some shit handed to you. Some really awful shit handed to you. Those are all the excuses in the world that a lot of people take to become shitty people. And you haven't. You haven't. So I'm a big believer in what I call alchemy. Well, what's called alchemy, you ever heard of that? So alchemy is an ancient medieval thing where like the chemists or the wizards or whatever they were trying to do is they were trying to take lead and tin and like a base metal and turn it into gold. You kept trying to figure out how I can take this metal and turn it into this, right? I think that from a spiritual perspective, what this is, when we have the awful stuff handed to us, because life's gonna hand us awful stuff, we take it and we turn it into gold. And I have to recognize you for that because you're like, she's gold medal standard. We know this, like taking all the awful stuff and turn it into gold. Now these men are the ones that are acknowledging this. The men, your dad, your grandfather, all of this, so damn proud of you because it feels like there are women in your life that have had awful shit handed to them where they took that excuse to just be bitter and bitchy and judgy and jaded. You know who I'm talking about? Okay. So in that way that you have turned yourself into this person who can take the crap and turn it into gold. That's what we have to do because we're always going to be handed crap. We're always going to be handed crap. We take it, we transform it. You got that? Okay. Now, okay. Ooh, this man. Oh, very handsome. Okay. Your dad, dad, handsome man. Okay. So he showed me like, I don't know if he had a uniform picture or like a picture with a collar or something where he had like a very nice picture taken. Did he smoke? His service? Okay. Did he smoke? Yeah, okay. I need you to get this picture up. Okay? I need you to get this picture up. And this man do Christmas very well? Don't remember? Okay, so.
Well, he was there, but he wasn't there.
Okay, so an interesting thing, because I'm getting the smell of pine and like the forest trees, like the Christmas trees, all of that. So if he didn't do Christmas well in that way, that's a sign like, I think he just wants that smell. So if you could burn that sort of incense in the home, all of that. But I need you to get this very handsome picture of him and put it up in your house, okay? Because this is a joker. He's a joker too. And yeah, it can be, absolutely. He wants you to like, he wants you to continue taking your shit and turn it into gold. And he's got to commend you for this. He's got to commend you for this. I don't like acronyms I don't like ADD, I don't like ADHD, I don't like any of that stuff because I'm not a person that can diagnose that stuff. But girl, you know OCD? What's that? Just a little bit? Yeah, okay. So, what's funny is that it's like, you gotta not worry about the goddamn things being straight all the time. You do that, like everything's gonna be straight and parallel, and if something's like not parallel, you gotta like, there's like I just feel like, just like really tight, like about that stuff. So I don't want to tell you, I hate to give advice like loosen up or chill out or relax. I hate that because that sort of minimizes the stuff that you're going through, and I don't want to minimize it. I don't want to trivialize it, but I want you to figure out how you can take that stuff that's inside of you, where everything's gonna be neat and square and lined up and all of that, and I need you to turn that shit into gold as well. Okay? And get yourself a clothesline. You want a clothesline? No. I'm seeing a clothesline. You got a space in your place that you could have one? Porch?
I have, well, I live in a camper right now. I just drove here from Texas, so.
Oh.
She moved
Okay.
back home. Yeah.
So, is she in your backyard?
No, she's my brother's backyard.
Okay. You do laundry there?
Yes.
Okay. There's something, and this may be for next year. I don't know, wherever you end up, right? Having a clothesline. I'm just in a clothesline, right?
So I don't mind clotheslines, it's the spiders that I don't like. Yeah. So spiders in my clothes, I just can't do.
Okay, so remember how I'm talking about turning shit into gold? Turning shit into gold, okay? So, with that being said, hang your towels up. Okay? They can't get in the towels, and you just shake them off, And there's something about that smell. I love a clothesline because there's something about clothesline hung clothes that just, oh man, it's nothing like the dryer. It's nothing like the dryer. And you might be homesteading for a little bit, you know, might be homesteading a little bit. I'm not standing around out there with the like wash tub and all that, but there's, well, but you know, it's gonna take a while for clothes to dry this time of year, but there's something about making sure that you're getting that smell. And if that is something that drives you crazy, it's always useful to lean into that a little bit, right? To lean, like, you crouch up to that comfort zone. Do you know what I mean? Because life's way too short to spend it all clenched up about stuff. So again, no judgment, just loosen up a little bit, okay? And it's this man who very much wants you to have that clothesline, so he's an old countryman. He had a clothesline? Yeah, so it's very much a clothesline. What does that represent? You know, sustainability. You know, we're not running electricity. It's, you know, the old frugal Yankees, cheapness, right? That sort of thing. But again, there's that smell of just like, I love that smell. Okay, so I think that'll mean a lot to you. Now, Holly, do you remember how I promised everybody at the beginning of this that I could give them the secret to life? The peace, the power and strength, the courage, and the self-respect. You're my person. Now, for the people that have seen me do this, the people that have seen me one-on-one, this is a process that I do with everybody. And this is part of the work that I do. And it's very sacred to me, and it's very much sent from above that I have to bring this stuff to people. So, I'm going to ask you a set of questions. When I ask you these questions, you're going to answer them on the inside. You don't have to answer them on the outside. I don't want you to, okay? But when I ask you these questions, I'm going to ask everybody here in this building that can hear my voice these questions. And I want everybody here that can hear my voice to answer them on the inside. Okay, got it? Okay, 4 questions. They're going to get increasingly intense, I'm warning you. The first one is what I call the low-hanging fruit. Okay, because we're in America. I'm a big fan of America, but we learn a lot of awful shit in America. For instance, do you know how many people in this room, in this barn, in this world hate their bodies because they grew up with maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline? Okay. So the first question is what I call the low-hanging fruit. I want you to take and put into your mind the cosmetic, physical part of yourself that you dislike the most. I want everybody in this place to do that. Put it in their mind. Do you have it? Okay. Normally I tell people to build an old-fashioned North Country fence down the middle of their mind, but I'm going to have you hang up a clothesline. Okay? So right down the middle of your mind, now what I want you to do is on the other side of that clothesline, I want you to put there what you would tell your sister, your nieces, your loved ones, if they felt that way about themselves. Okay. Now take a moment to compare and contrast. Vastly different, yes? Vastly different. Everybody in this room pretty much is, there might be a unicorn or two in this room that could tell themselves the same thing that they would tell somebody else, but I'm thinking everybody in this room is telling themselves something that they would never want a loved one to tell themselves. Got that? Okay, remember, the next questions, they get increasingly intense. The next question is this. Everybody in this room, Holly, you included, I want you to put into your mind your biggest regret, shame, or guilt. Okay, that was a fast one. Okay, on the other side of that clothesline, I want you to put there what you would tell a loved one. A niece, a sister, daughter, best friend, goddamn cashier at the grocery store, a stranger. Compare and contrast, vastly different, right? You'd want to shake their shoulders and be like, what is wrong with you? Why would you blame yourself for that, right? Okay. Totally different. The next question is this. Take your biggest fear. Put it in your mind. Got it? And on the other side of that clothesline, I want you to put there what you would tell your loved ones. Okay. Different. So, here's another thing about America. Here's another thing about our modern culture. We're all taught that love is a simple emotion. So love's an emotion. like fear, worry. I'm going to disagree with that. I know that love is the greatest force in this universe, and love is the greatest force that we have access to. How do I know this? Well, when we have to carry a burden for somebody we love, we become the strongest we could ever be. Everybody in this room becomes the strongest they could ever be when they have to carry a burden for somebody they love. When we have to solve a problem for somebody we love, we become the smartest that we could ever be. Right? Apparently you've solved problems for her. I don't fucking know. But you know what I'm talking about? When you have to help somebody that you love, you're going to be the strongest and smartest that you could ever be. That is not a simple emotion. And here's what else I figured out about this spirit stuff. A spiritual practitioner like me, a spiritual path that we walk on, a person like me should only be pointing a person back to the inner blueprint they're born with. So that, like marriage of body and spirit, this is what I know, that spirit is made of pure love. It comes from pure love, it is pure love, and that is the greatest strength and wisdom that we have access to. We're just all really complicated algebra equations, and we pick up a lot of variables along the way, like the Maybelline bullshit, that would separate us from that. So I think the spiritual path is just shedding the layers of that callus we've picked up along the way so we can get back to the love we give everybody else. The fear, the shame, the regret. Now, peace is on the other side of that clothesline. You just got to tell yourself, and the interesting thing about humans is we're talking to ourselves and listening to ourselves all the time. We can control that conversation. Do you know why I control that conversation? Because I'm not going to beat up on my grandma's grandson. No way. I control that conversation because I'm not going to have her suffer watching from the world of spirit while I'm blaming myself for things I would never blame somebody else for, while I'm diminishing myself in ways that I would never have anybody else diminish themselves. You understand that? Okay, so that's peace. But let's talk about power and strength. Power and strength. Girl, you are spinning so many plates on the inside. Like, humans only have a certain amount of mental and emotional capital to spend throughout the course of the given day. You know Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook guy? The guy who owns Facebook, right? Do you know why he always wears jeans and a gray t-shirt? Because he doesn't want to take the energy to make a decision about his outfit. Because he understands that about humans. He understands that we only have a certain amount of chutzpah, a certain amount of gas throughout the course of the day, and he doesn't even want to waste that because he's making decisions elsewhere that he has to. So if we can reduce all the inner bullshit from happening all the time, we get power and strength. And I don't know about you, but I want to be the strongest version of myself and my family. Everybody here does. But we've all been taught to diminish ourselves and tell ourselves things that we would never want anybody else to tell themselves. Your shame, your regret, your guilt, your fear. I could stand up here and tell you that Jesus has the answer, Mary and Joseph have the answer, the saints have the answer, I could tell you Buddha has the answer, but what I actually have to tell you is that you have the answer, and I just established that to you. You have the answer, and girl, you want peace? It's time that you start to give yourself you. Now, the big one, self-respect, right? Now, not Holly, but Sherry, okay. Sherry, you know that Holly is a person that should absolutely respect herself, yes? Okay. Most people in this room want self-respect, but I'm going to tell you why they don't have it. I'm going to tell you why you don't have it. Here's why. Pretty much everybody in this room is this goddamn cliche of, well, I can give great advice, I just can't take it. You know that? Okay, you're like this cliche, right? Like poster girl for this. Okay. Now when you are insisting, as everybody in this room is, insisting on everybody around them to be their own best friends, and then we insist on being our own worst enemy, and then we're smart enough to kind of pick up on that, what that means is that we realize that we are the thing we hate the most, a goddamn hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. Do you know what I do? Well, how about this? You're really organized because of the OCD stuff? You like making lists? Yeah, lists, okay? This is what I want you to do. And everybody really wanted peace, power, strength, courage, self-respect. They're going to go home tonight and do this. You take a sheet of paper It's funny, I'm seeing Excel spreadsheets, so I don't know if you do that. You do Excel spreadsheets?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Girl, do the Excel spreadsheets, you know what I mean? Make 2 columns on something, okay? On the left-hand column, what I want you to write down is your biggest bullshit. The stuff in your life that bothers you the most. In your heart, in your mind, in the rear view, and all of that. And then on the other side of that line, what I want you to do is I want you to write down what you would tell your sister, what you would tell your niece, what you would tell your child, what you would tell anybody that you love, and that's your religion. This is what the religious folks talk about when they say the kingdom of God lives within. Right? The kingdom of God's inside, because God is love, and love is God, and all of that stuff. Your love, you know that. And I just showed you that you got the wisdom and the strength and the love inside of you that's going to solve pretty much every challenge that you have. Now the thing about that, and here's a funny thing, again, humans are funny creatures. Take your age, put it in your head. At the age of 2, we start to be programmed by our religions, by our politics, by our cultures, by the TV, by best friends in 6th grade. We start to get programmed by all sorts of things that's going to reduce us, diminish us, and then go make us pay money for things that we never needed. That secret to life is this. What would I tell my kid? What would I tell my sister? What would I tell a loved one? The secret to life is there because on the other side of that question, the answer that you get comes from love, which is your greatest source of strength and wisdom. You get that? Now, because we've been trained and conditioned and taught all sorts of awful shit, we have to lean into that over and over and over and over and over and over, like an antibiotic. You can't just take an antibiotic once and think you're fixed, right? You gotta take it over and over and over. One of the things that you don't realize, and I think that you're probably around this neck of the woods for a while, okay, you got people that are looking up to you right now. You got people that are looking up to you right now. And kids, this is a funny thing that I do with my kid, because I got a 20-year-old, and I taught him this, like, hey man, what would you tell your best friend? Go in that direction. One day, we're not going to be around to give our insight to the people that we love, and kids are going to do what we show them, not what we tell them. And you've got to make sure that you have more goddamn compassion for yourself than you do for that camper. You know what I mean? It's like, give yourself a massage, give yourself a pedicure, pedicure, right down there on the feet, right? Give yourself a pedicure, anything like that. You're gonna feel like you're taking food out of people's mouths. But you gotta take care of yourself. We can't have more compassion for our vehicles than we do for ourselves. That's a fool's game. That's not sustainable. What's that?
I said, I get that.
Okay, good. Because again, we're taught to give ourselves, you know how many people in this room are giving themselves the least, expecting the most, and then get pissed off at themselves because they get hangry, tired, all of those things, when they should be sustaining themselves as much as possible? That's what I do. It's not selfish to prioritize caring for my husband's husband. It's not selfish to prioritize taking care of my son's father or my parents' son. You get that? We get taught that it's selfish, but it's not. My parents need to know their son is taken care of. My husband, my son need to know that their husband and father are taken care of. Just in the same way I'd want them to take care of themselves. Minimize the bullshit like Melody. And Teresa. Okay, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here. We are all done today.